Hi, everyone. My name is Mel Robertson, and I'd like to welcome you to Happiness is Your Own Damn Fault. What we're talking about is how to drop the baggage, increase your frequency, and live a bliss-filled life. Now, I decided to put this summit together because I want you to know that happiness is equally available to every single one of us, no matter the circumstances that you've endured. So no matter what you've been through, you too can choose happiness now, because happiness is your birthright. It's your natural state of being underneath all the baggage you've been dragging around with you for all those years. So what I wanted to do was interview people who are truly happy and get them to share with you their secrets on how they let go of the past, stopped worrying about the future, and started living their bliss. Today, I'm excited to welcome abundance expert Moira Shepard, and I chose her because she plays her part in healing the world and rejoices in the privilege of supporting thousands of people in their magnificence, including you if you are willing. Popular telesummit speaker Moira Shepard is the author of the forthcoming book, Top 10 Ways to Be a Love and Money Magnet. Moira supports women in feeling confident they can actually create the life they want and that they deserve to live in. She specializes in guiding coaches, healers, leaders, teachers, and visionaries to shed the self-doubt and low self-worth that keeps them from living their passion and purpose. As a transformational teacher, Moira activates abundance breakthroughs in telesummits, blogs, articles, radio shows, workshops, and private sessions with clients from Los Angeles to London to Lahore. Clients, listeners, and readers report feeling deep transformations in their energy, attitude, and behavior after just one session with Moira. And I'm excited to welcome you. Hi, Moira.
Hi, Mel. Thank you. I am so happy to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you. I love what you're saying about how happiness is our natural state, because that is something that is so close to my heart. Meister Eckhart has this wonderful quote about how the process of finding God in the soul is not a matter of adding anything. It is a process of subtraction. We're releasing all the old energies, all the old baggage, and as we subtract all of the mistakes, all of our judgments, all of our assumptions that things ought to be this way instead of that way, and the more we let go of all that, liberate ourselves from the burden of these expectations and upsets and perceptions of lack or defeat or disappointment, the more we let all of that go, the more room we make for the bliss that is our natural state to come through.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much. I love that. Now, I would love for you to just share before, because you and I are going to dive right in and get really deep here, and I love the work we do together. But before we do, let's give our audience just a chance to get to know you better, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Just to give you the nutshell version, I grew up in an extremely dysfunctional family, mentally ill mother, absentee father who got kind of overwhelmed and frightened by what he had to deal with. And I grew up feeling very low in the way of self-esteem and self-worth because I grew up in a family that basically showed me that I didn't matter, my preferences didn't matter, my desires made no never mind to anybody. And so I felt like I must be nothing because I am being treated like nothing. And that's the natural childhood egotism that all of us have. If this is going on, it's because of something in me. I have caused this in some way. And that makes a lot of sense to the undeveloped childish mind. But as we get older, we have the opportunity to re-examine the judgments that we've made. And so I have taken occasion to re-examine judgments that I've made. Am I really nothing? Do I really not matter at all because my family treated me this way, or is it just how they rolled? And there is much more acceptance and love and joy and prosperity and abundance somewhere out there in the world. But first I have to get out of my own head because my childhood was a long time ago. As long as I keep carrying it along, I keep reliving it and recreating experiences of feeling like I don't matter, feeling like nothing that I want matters to anybody. So it's a conscious unpacking of all that childhood baggage that has helped me to get to the blissful and fulfilling life that I enjoy today. One of the biggest chunks of unpacking that I had to do came about when I had a back injury after about 20 years working in mass media in various capacities. I hurt my back on a job, heavy lifting, and I woke up paralyzed within less than 24 hours, actually within a matter of minutes. I lost my mobility, my health, my independence, my job, my income, shortly thereafter, my boyfriend. And it was like, wow, I can't even move. I'm in jail in my own body. And that was really frightening. It was really frightening. That was a huge challenge, series of challenges really to face. I went through 5 lower back surgeries. Every one of them failed. 4 years into this period of paralysis and immobility, I asked my doctors, is this it? And they said, well, yeah, we fused your spine. There's nothing left to do. So part of me was really frightened about that and really angry about that and wondering, can I go on? Do I want to go on? Is this really how I want to live my life? So that was kind of the ego mind portion of the festivities, looking at despair and creating disastrous future scenarios of me, living the next 40, 50, 60, whatever years of my life, staring at 4 walls. So that was the mind movie that started up when the doctors told me that. But part of me deep down, the part of me where bliss is my natural state, where happiness and joy and acceptance is my natural state, that part of me said to the ego mind as well as to my doctors, thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to go get well now.
Right.
So I started working with alternative healers since the best surgeons in the Western world had washed their hands of me. And through alternative healing, I was able to get vertical for like 15 minutes a day, which is much better than nothing at all. I was really grateful for that, but in terms of getting my life back, it is quite a bit less than what I had in mind. So I didn't know what to do at that point, so I just kept on being present. I just kept on deciding that someday I would find out why this happened, which gave meaning to the experience while I was living it, that somehow, someday I would find out why this happened. Mm-hmm. So in the process of surrendering, why did this happen to me? Surrendering the self-pity, surrendering the, I want to be better today, the impatience, and just surrendering all of that because I didn't know where my wellness was going to come from. And it was through that process of surrender and unpacking all of my impatience and demands and unpacking all of my fears and just deciding, this is too big an experience to have been created by me alone. Something larger is at play here. Something or someone greater than myself has got something more in mind here. I refuse to believe this is just for nothing. And that, too, gave me meaning and purpose to cling to while I was kind of floating along on the fragments of the ship of my life, kind of floating in the ocean of uncertainty there. And one morning I woke up out of a sound sleep, 4:30 in the morning, wide awake, suddenly sitting up and knowing it was time for me to get out of bed and start doing my part in healing the world, which was huge and terrifying and immensely exciting. It was like, wow, I have no idea what that's going to involve. I have no idea how I'm going to do that. But it was the best idea I had heard in a long time. So in that moment, it was like all of my molecules shifted 180 degrees. Up until that moment, I couldn't get out of bed beyond 15 minutes a day max. But after that moment, nothing could keep me in bed. I was getting out no matter what. I didn't know what it was going to take, but I was by golly going to do it because I had an invitation, a call to service. And I could have stayed safe in bed with my pain and my little Vicodin and just kind of floating along dimly hoping for the best. But that would have caused my soul to die, because when you get a call like that and you decide to ignore it, your soul is going to wreak havoc until you heed the call. So I just thought, I'm not fighting this. I'm too excited to fight it. I want to fight it. It frightens me, but in that moment, my love and desire to serve, my vision, my reason for being, they all became bigger than my fear. They became bigger than my pain. They became bigger than my physical, emotional, financial condition. None of those things mattered as much to me as being true to this calling and choosing consciously to follow it wherever it took me. And I've never regretted it, because I had so much emotional, psychic, spiritual pain as a child. I kind of shut down all of my emotions because they just hurt. I just had nothing to do with them. To me, emotions equaled pain. Didn't want any part of it, buried, ignored it, denied it, shunned it under the manhole cover, whatever I could do with it, whatever I could do to get away from it. That was so key to my survival at that time. I came to rely entirely on my mind and thought processes to keep me safe, figuring out to keep me safe, figuring things out to avoid danger, to avoid hurt, to avoid life, basically. So in that moment of choosing to follow guidance, to follow my intuition, which often reveals itself through feelings, I was able to reconnect with the emotions that I had buried for so long. And there was a lot of cleansing in the way of crying and sobbing and letting go and letting go and letting go and letting go, because feelings buried alive never die. They're going to come up at some point. And so I decided to just, feel them. I decided to just feel them. And that was what reconnected me with this powerhouse intuition that I had as a child that I totally shut down because it had to do with feelings. Ew, ick, feelings. Back off. Now I've been able to get to a point where my feelings and my mind are able to work together more along the lines of divine order and harmony, because we're not meant to ignore the mind, and we're not meant to ignore the emotions either. They're two tools that we've been given to navigate life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We need both of them. So you talked about some really key things in your story that I'd like to just go back to, because it's like you talked about really three key things that are really important if you're really serious about learning how to live your bliss and really claiming your birthright. And, the first thing that you talked about was that you made a conscious choice to start unpacking your baggage, and you became willing to do that. And then also you were willing to surrender. So you became willing to do the work, and then you also became willing to surrender. And I think those were huge pieces that I'd love to just, because it's, happiness is an inside job. It's not easy. It takes work, and we all have to be willing to show up and do the work. But when we do, the rewards are amazing.
They are amazing. No doubt about that. So the first piece, in terms of consciously deciding to do the work, consciously deciding to unpack my baggage, that was a huge decision in and of itself, and it was born of the realization that's becoming more real to me all the time, that I am not my past. I am not my feelings. I am not my parents. I am not the child my parents raised. I am an embodiment of divine love, just like everybody else. And so when you realize that the past only has as much power over me as I give it, that enables me to step away from it. Before, I was living in it all the time, like so many people with post-traumatic stress because of dire things in their upbringing or their experiences. I had been kind of locked in that endless loop of life sucks. Here's another sucky thing. Prove that life sucks. This is totally life. It's like Murphy's Law was my mantra. If anything can go wrong, it will. Well, yes. I found out a few years ago that Murphy was actually a tester in a product design company. And so his mission was, let's find what can go wrong with the product before we release it to the public, which is what a quality control product design kind of inspector would do. It was never meant to be a blueprint for life. Those were never meant to be words to live by. So as I come to realize that I have the power to step away from my past, I have the power to just take one step back from my emotions, because before I was a slave to them. Because when you're hiding your emotions or ignoring them or mashing them down, you are actually enslaved by them because you've given them more power than you've given to yourself. The way one takes one's power back is to step away from those emotions, because feelings come and go like the tide when you just allow yourself to feel your feelings. It's when you ignore them or try to mash them down that they get bigger and stronger and build in intensity and spend most of your time battling. It's just, you're just fighting your own mind. How can love or abundance or bliss enter you when you are a walking war zone?
And you wonder why you're exhausted.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to suppress emotions. It's incredibly exhausting. When all you do is just feel the feelings, within a minute or two, they're gone. You just release them to the light. You just allow, okay, I'm feeling this feeling. Thank you for making me look. Watching you go now. Watching you go now. So these feelings they're like smoke signals from our unconscious mind. Hello, you need to look at this. And this is one of the ways that negative emotions can lead our way in terms of getting back to the bliss that always dwells at the center of our being, to access the happiness that lives and vibrates within us all the time. Because those negative emotions are smoke signals sent by your unconscious mind. Says, you're feeling really taken advantage of here, and it's making you mad, which is totally understandable and legitimate. Maybe you need to look at the way you're conducting yourself in this relationship. Are you making yourself the slave of the other person? Are you allowing somebody to walk all over you? There are some people here who are on this earth who are world-class walker-overs. They'll walk over anybody to get at what they want, and that's how they live. They have every right to do that. Everybody has the right to live the way they wish to live. You get to decide whether you want to hang out with people like that. So the feelings of resentment or I'm being taken advantage of anger, or it's so unfair, these are smoke signals from your unconscious mind saying this relationship is out of balance. Step away and take a look. What is the I am playing in this? Nobody can enslave me without my consent. Nobody can take advantage of me without my consent. Why did that seem like such a good idea? Because we don't do this stuff to torture ourselves. We do it because it's the best available idea in the moment. But we don't have to cling to it just because we entertained that idea for a while. We could step back and say, you know what? I'm tired of having people walk over me. I am tired of being taken advantage of. And I withdraw my permission for people to do that. I begin by ceasing to take advantage of myself. What on earth does that mean? That means I'm going to stop working full-time workaholic mode, and because I happen to have every bit of energy, and I just take it and use it all for this project, this business, this work, or this relationship that's consuming all of your energy. So I'm going to keep some of this energy back for me now. I think I'm done with giving until it bleeds. I think I'm done with giving until I've got nothing left for myself. That's a decision each of us can make, and only we can make. It's rare that somebody, one of your loved ones, is going to take you by the shoulders and look you in the eye and say, honey, you've done enough for me. You take some time for yourself right now. You go rest, read a magazine or something.
Oh, I love that.
People may do that one day, but chances are you're going to have to do it first. Look yourself in the eye and say, honey, you've pushed, you've struggled, you've worked and slaved, you've allowed yourself to be ground under the heel of some tyrant in your life long enough. Let's get up, let's stand up. Let us claim our time and energy for ourselves. Let me save some of my time and energy for rest, some time and energy for play, some time and energy for doing what is important to me, which in my case was unpacking the baggage of my past and just realizing I'm doomed to condemn the past. I'm doomed to repeat the past until I learn from it. So instead of looking for justifications about, see, this proves why I'm so worthless, this proves why I don't matter, and seeking out more evidence because that I don't matter, that nothing I do is enough, that I am hopelessly inadequate. Because the brain will always find evidence of whatever you look for.
Yep, what you believe you receive, right?
Yeah, whatever you seek, you will, by golly, find it. So if you want proof that you don't matter, if you want proof of your worthlessness, if you want proof that life never goes your way, you'll find it.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
So change the focus. Instead of looking at all this stuff that you don't want, put your focus on what you do want. I wanted peace. I wanted mobility. I wanted health and well-being. I wanted to be of service in the world. So I started paying attention to those things. I can't do surgery on myself, but I can eat in a more healthy way. I can ask my doctors to give me a taper-down program so I can stop taking the Vicodin. I can ask my body, what do you need? What will help you? What will nourish you? What will support you? Listening to what the body tells me, and sometimes it'll say it in words, and sometimes it'll take me right to the refrigerator, open up the crisper, and say, we're having this spinach now. Make a salad. Sometimes it's very direct. What do you need right now? The body will tell you. It's not shy.
Yep. No, you just have to ask.
Yeah, you really just have to ask. So,
and I want to say, too, like making that decision, just actually making the decision that you're going to do something different with your life, like that's enough to create the energy of momentum, like you finally committing to yourself that you wanted to do something different with your life, that you wanted it different. Then that's just being willing to step up and say, I matter and I'm going to do something different with my life is enough to create the shift and move you forward and the universe to step up and meet you on your journey.
It's true. It really... The big breakthrough there for me in that healing, this is just coming up for me right now, is that before that moment of awakening, I could not imagine anything better for myself than what I had. So I thought I had two options. I could stay ill in bed, bombed out of my mind on Vicodin, floating along from day to day without purpose or passion, just kind of dimly, dumbly hoping for the best. Or I could go back to my soul-killing corporate job.
Yeah.
Decisions. So, as so often is the case when you are faced with two extremely unappealing options and you don't like either of them, you do nothing because you don't like either of these choices. and that's what I did. I did nothing. I did opt to float along until this bigger, better idea of a bigger vision for my life than I could have imagined for myself presented itself in what had become willing, fertile soil, willing, fertile field in my mind that could absorb these seeds of divine inspiration and find ways to nourish them and make them grow, to allow them to blossom. And so much of the key to any kind of addiction, whether it's to a substance or a behavior or a way of living or even a way of feeling, because some people are hooked on emotions, some people are hooked on depression or misery. So much of the root of that addiction is the inability to imagine for oneself anything better than what you've got. So this is where opening to infinite mind, which every one of us has access to. It's just a thought away, and choosing to set aside my ideas of what was possible for me, stay ill and hurting in bed, or go back to the soul-killing corporate job. There had to be another way, and I had no idea what it was, but I kept asking, is there a better way? What might that be? How would that look? What would that be like? What is really possible for me? So that's one element of surrendering my ideas of what was possible for me, and opening the possibility that God might have a better idea for me than I did. God might have a clearer idea of what would make me happy more than myself. Certainly in my years in mass media, it never occurred to me that I would be an intuitive healer or a teacher or a trainer.
Right.
That was so far off my radar. It was like, that's somebody else's life. And yet it has become mine, and I would live no other way. I've never had so much joy or fulfillment. And it came from surrendering. This is where surrender is so different from giving up. It's more like giving over. Yeah. Turning over all of my limiting ideas about what was possible. Yeah. About what could happen for little old me.
Those are always like the turning points, those surrender moments when we're in like our moments of darkness and pain, and we feel like we're on the floor curling in a ball, and it's like when you just finally just surrender it, that's when like the magic happens. That little piece shifts, and some possibility comes in that you couldn't even reach the frequency of before you surrendered. You were nowhere near it. And then an opportunity comes just from your surrender that you weren't even aware of.
Yeah, it's in a paradoxical sort of way, surrender is incredibly liberating.
Yes.
It is so freeing because you've laid down the burdens that you've taken on. And so you can walk free and unencumbered toward the life you desire.
Another key thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't know you were finished. Go right ahead.
I don't know where this life is taking me, and that's a part of surrender too. I have no idea what's in store for me. I have ideas about what I would enjoy, what I think I would enjoy, but I got to tell you, after being in 4 long-term relationships in my adult life before this injury, I am really clear that God probably has a much better idea of what will make me happy.
Right?
So I am surrendering myself, surrendering my ideas of what's possible, my ideas of what would make me happy, my ideas of what would fulfill me, in favor of just opening to the greater yet to be that lies before me. Because we all think we know what's going to happen. We all know what we'd like to happen. But nobody actually knows what is going to happen, because in a universe full of infinite possibilities, the future holds infinite variables. And
exactly.
Yeah, you kick another variable into action every time you choose soup instead of salad, every time you turn left instead of right.
Right, exactly.
Instead of no. It's like, woo, choice point. They're everywhere.
Exactly. And what was that joke? If you want to make God laugh, tell him all your little plans.
It's true.
It is true. Awesome. So, Moira, how can we shift if we're in a place of like bummer and down and depression and density and darkness? How can we shift out of that into bliss now?
Well, I've got a couple of ways to do that, and one is very quick. What I've found is that if you're upset, it's usually because you've got one foot in the past and or one foot in the future. So you have stepped every time you're in the past, and you do that every time you think about it, and every time you're in the future, which is every time you think about it, you've removed yourself from the present, the here and now, and that is the only place where bliss dwells. In the present moment, there is only peace, because in the present moment, there is only the presence that dwells within you, that is your ultimate and only reality. Some people call it divine love. Some people call it the Atman presence, Buddha mind, Hashem, Allah, Jesus, whatever your name you choose to give it, or if you just call it that nameless thing inside of me that is greater than my individual self, whatever name you give it. Some people, my higher self, science, the name matters much less than your awareness. That you are a container of bliss, and it's right here in your body at the center of your being right now. So it's easy to forget that when you've got one foot in the past or one foot in the future. So sometimes, it can be helpful just to take one foot, like literally, just, okay, this foot is in the past. Let's move it over here into the now. Okay, this foot is in the future, thinking about all that stuff I'm worried will happen or won't happen. Let's just take that foot, put it flat on the ground. Let's have these 2 feet together in the here and now. It's often helpful to sit, or you can do this while you're standing. Just, okay, both feet are in the present. I am anchored in the here and now, and I go within where bliss always dwells. Mm-hmm. An easy way to connect with that is through breathing. Just pay attention to the breath coming in and out of you, noticing how the air comes in a little cool when it comes into your nostrils, and it's a little warm when it comes out. And just focusing on the breath is a wonderful way to get more into the present state of bliss that is in you right now. The thing about bliss, it's almost like it's become this advertising or marketing tool with pictures of people in a tropical paradise, Hawaii, Tahiti, the Caribbean, something like that. And what all of these external visuals of bliss are telling you is bliss is out there somewhere. Buy a ticket. Go fly there. Take a boat there. Go drive there. Bliss is somewhere out there, and you're not there. None of that is true. That is pure marketing. Bliss is inside, and it's always there. And when you engage in Meister Eckhart's process of subtraction, okay, let's subtract this fearful thought. Let's subtract this ruminating on the past, this chewing over the way somebody has wronged me, or the way that I did something wrong, or the way that something went wrong. Let's take that out. Like, take the chewing gum of the past that you've been chewing on and grinding your teeth over. Just take it out. Release. Now, wrap it up in a tissue. Toss it away. Because you can't do anything about the past. You can't change it. You can change the way you feel about it. You can change the way you look at it. You can change the way you judge yourself. You can change the tendency to judge yourself at all. One of the simplest ways I've found to make peace with the past so it can be let go is to ask to be shown. Let me have right perception of this matter, or of this parent, this situation, or let me have right perception of myself. Right perception being seeing something the way your higher power sees it, through the eyes of infinite love. And that alone can accomplish an enormous shift. Whenever I get upset, I know it's because I'm not perceiving something correctly, because if I did, it wouldn't be taking me out of my natural state of bliss. Yeah. So let me have right perception of this situation. I remember one day when I was having a financial shipwreck years ago, I got my bank statement, and what I saw frightened me. It was like, oh, my God, I can't believe I got this little money. I've got all these bills. What am I going to do? Oh, anguish, agony, fear, dread, self-flagellation, self-doubt, self-torture, self-disgust. How could you get into the situation? Blah! So I caught myself in time before I realized, okay, I need to talk myself off the ledge here. So I took the bank statement in my hand, because that was back in the day when statements were printed, came in the mail, and I said to my higher power, give me right perception of this piece of paper that I am holding in my hand. I'm giving it all this meaning. What meaning do you give to it? And I heard, these are marks of ink on a piece of paper. That is all they are. Ink marks on paper. That is it. They mean nothing about you. They signify nothing besides these are black marks on white paper. That is all they mean. And as I looked at that piece of paper again and looked at the ink marks, and suddenly they just became ink marks. They weren't even numbers anymore. I didn't even see the numbers. It was just like, oh, these are ink marks on a piece of paper, and this is a useful way of seeing where I am now financially. Where would I like to be instead? How can I get there? Higher power, give me a right perception of that. Guide my step. Help me my way. So right perception is pretty much my sovereign remedy for going from bummer to bliss. Help me to see this person, this situation, myself, whatever applies, in a new light. Help me to have a right perception. So it's always a prayer away, a thought away. Going from a bummer to being in bliss is help me see this in a new light. And just like with my instant healing that got me out of bed and put me on the path that I'm on now, it was just one thought. It was just one thought that turned around everything for me, that got me from I can't get out of bed to nothing's keeping me in bed. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
One thought.
Yeah, one thought is so powerful. I think I shared this on another interview, but there was a period in my life where I was quitting smoking, and someone had told me to change the way that I thought about it. Instead of thinking that I'm quitting smoking, change my thought to I'm a non-smoker. So the night before, I had picked my quit date. So the night before, I decided that that's how I was going to think of it. So when I woke up in the morning, I just told myself that I was a non-smoker. And I didn't have any, like, the negative nicotine withdrawals that people go through and the real irritability and all the craving. I didn't have any of that. All I needed to do is, like, substitute, like, the hand thing of putting something to your mouth with, like, I cut straws to, like, the size of a cigarette and, like, use that for, like, a couple days, and that was it. And within 2 weeks, it was completely out of my system with, like, no negative side effects.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You shifted the way you identified yourself, the way you thought of yourself. You shifted from smoker trying to quit to non-smoker.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
It's a non-issue, a no-brainer. That's brilliant.
Yep. Yeah, it's that powerful. It's just so amazing when you just choose to change the way you see something and look at it. It changes everything. So, Moira, this is we're talking about what living a bliss-filled life means for people and how to live a bliss-filled life. So I'd love to give each of my experts an opportunity to talk about what does living a bliss-filled life actually mean to you today, living in the flow, and what does that look like if you're open to sharing it a little bit?
Absolutely. I think my idea of a bliss-filled life is to a large extent shared by everyone, which is basically living my life on my terms in accordance with my values and what my priorities are and what matters to me, what is meaningful to me. For me, that includes writing because I've been a writer all my life. I started when I was a child, and it's not part of who I am because who I am is an embodiment of infinite love like everybody else. But I do know that like everybody, I was given certain gifts. And the gift of writing, the gift of being able to think in a structured way that could convey information or entertainment or amusement to other people came to me very young. And there was nothing to stop me and no one to stop me from writing, so I just scribbled away. I wrote stories and fables and plays and all kinds of stuff. I mean, nobody cared about my writing, which was actually great. I mean, overall in my upbringing, I'd say I would take benign neglect over and making sure I did everything right. I'd take benign neglect any time, 10 times out of 10. Right. Nobody cared, so there was nobody to say no to me. And so that gift was able to grow. I also enjoyed speaking and sharing and performing. And so that has become integrated in the life that I live now. Less about performing, but the great thing about the performing that I did before I got into this line of work, this calling, is that it got me comfortable at the front of the room. And it got me comfortable speaking before large groups of people. The challenge for me going from performing to the speaking and teaching and sharing, like with you now, Mel, is that before I was always playing a role. I had to learn how to be myself. I had to trust that I am enough, that whatever comes through my mind may safely be spoken, that it will be to the point in some way, even if it's not really clear to me, because I'm the messenger. The one who is listening is the one who is really important in these communications. So that's really helped me to get ego more and more out of the way and just stepping aside and realizing one of the greatest gifts I can give is just hold a space for love and wisdom to flow through me, for infinite love to speak in my human voice. Sometimes the human voice is spoken. In my case, sometimes it is written. But it is always an opportunity to stand aside and be the vessel through which goodness and wisdom and healing flows. And so the more I share these gifts that I cultivated in other lines of work for a long time, but they've stood me in good stead now. I still use them every day. So I've always been a very creative person. I don't really understand how somebody cannot be creative. My inclination is more to hold. So we're all creative in some ways. Sometimes they're not immediately obvious or immediately dubbed, this is a creative thing that you're doing. But we're all extremely creative because we're creating our lives every day out of our thoughts and feelings, out of our values and desires. So we're all creative in some way, shape, or form, and allowing creative expression to flow through me is so satisfying and gratifying to my soul. See, that was what was so soul-killing about my previous job in corporate, which was that my creative flow was completely stopped up. It was surplus to the requirements of the job. Nobody wanted it or needed it. I was severely underemployed. My soul had gifts to share, and nobody was interested. Nobody cares. Dude, that is not in your job description. So it's like I felt very stymied and stuck. I think that's one of the reasons I had that back injury. I kept getting all these signs from my insides, like feeling sick to my stomach every time I parked in the lot every day at work. Oh, God, I'm here again. I actually had supervisors and managers take me out to lunch and say, Moira, you could be so much more. We love you. You're the rock of the office. But what are you doing here?
Right.
You've got so much more to give. And not knowing what to do or how to be, because I was unable to imagine anything better for myself than the corporate golden handcuffs that I had stepped into. Because I couldn't imagine anything better for myself, I did nothing until my higher self, my soul, swept into action, kissed me on the spine one day at work and said, honey, you are out of here. So now I've come to realize that when my soul isn't happy, I'm not going to have a happy life, and nobody is going to be happy around me. I'll certainly see to that. So giving the soul the opportunity to express and give and share and contribute in the way it wishes, the ways that it loves, through writing and speaking and working privately with people, it's such an immense privilege to work with other souls and kind of light the way for people to find their way back to themselves, back to their bliss, back to their true selves. It is such sacred work to me. And it delights my soul and my heart and my mind every time that I do it. So these are all experiences of bliss, and my life has taken the shape where I get to do this every day. Write, speak, heal, share. And also, of course, play and have fun, but all of my relationships are so much better now. The people who didn't appreciate me or get me have kind of vibrated out of my life. No big showdowns, just, we don't call each other anymore. No big whoop.
Yep, it happens.
So I've just got this fantastic circle of friends and this great community that you and I are a part of, that all of our listeners are a part of. And so really it's one step at a time has helped to create this blissful life. I don't know where it's taking me, but, seems to me that going from bliss to bliss is a pretty good way to live.
Right? And it just gets more blissful each day.
Yeah, because basically, the better it gets, the better it gets.
The better it gets. Absolutely, absolutely. Love it. Well, Moira, we're just about out of time, and I want to give you an opportunity. I know you're offering a really cool free gift to our listeners. I just wanted to give you a minute to talk about that before we wrap up.
Thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. What I'm offering is a downloadable MP3 guided meditation, healing, illumination session about the top 10 ways to be a love and money magnet. What I've found in the years of doing this work is that we reject, neglect, betray, and abandon ourselves habitually every day. And it's so much of the way we live, we don't even realize it. We don't think about it. We do it automatically. And that is what these rejections and experiences of neglect and abandonment and betrayal are keeping your bliss far away from you, are keeping your prosperity, the love that you want, the satisfying work, the joyful play that you want, keeping them far away from you. It is crucial to accept yourself, and it's rarely a one-and-done kind of deal. Almost nobody says, I'm going to accept myself now, and then they do, and they never have to think about it again. So with these top 10 ways that I've identified where we are not accepting ourselves, I just go right to, here's what you can do instead. So these are healings, illuminations around each of these 10 areas. It runs less than 25 minutes, and all you have to do is listen to it and just say yes out loud. I suggest listen to it while you're sitting or laying down rather than driving, because they will put you in an altered state, these meditations. So be safe, listen to them when you're stationary instead of in motion. And it just opens the door across all the multiple dimensional ways in which we have been refusing or withholding acceptance from ourselves. It just opens you to the acceptance of yourself that in turn allows you to accept all the good your higher power wants you to have and has been trying to bring into your life, despite your best efforts. And just opens the door for all of that good to come to you, because until you accept yourself, you will never accept all the good, the love, the prosperity that your higher power wants to have and that you want to have because you think you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
This helps you get over that fantasy. This helps you get over that fantasy that you are undeserving of anything and puts it to rest for good. 25 minutes or less.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that wonderful gift. I just want to take a minute just to remind everyone listening that happiness, it is an inside job, and it's equally available to everyone. We're living in a time now where we can choose to drop whatever baggage we've been carrying around. We can drop the old stories. It just starts with a simple choice. You are powerful beyond measure, and all you need to do is tap into the divine power that created you and follow the guidance you're given. You were born to be happy, experience joy, and live an abundant, blissed-out life. I want to hear what you thought, so hit reply to this email and share your thoughts with me. Moira, it's been such an honor to have you here again. Thank you so much for participating in Happiness is Your Own Damn Fault.
Thank you, Mel. I love your summit. Long may it wave. May it live.